And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Stephen Mosher.
They say times are hard for dreamers, but they are not hard for me. I saved up everything I know to take a step beyond the lawn, keep walking till I see the station and then see it go. Inside the train, out through the glass, my finger tracing all of these towns I've never heard of, erasing past. Off the train in New York, there's adventure, life, and more. The city's waking up for me. A sign says an apartment's vacant on the second floor, and suddenly I hold the key. I turn a lock, the rooms appear, and all it takes is one more step, and then I'm here, just me behind my door. It isn't what I have, it's only what I have in store that matters now. The past can only fade, and everything I'll ever need is here. This is how my world gets made. They say times are hard for dreamers, and who knows, maybe they are. People seem stuck or lost at sea, and I might be a dreamer, but it's gotten me this far, and that is far enough for me. Look out my window, there's a view of other windows, my own museum full of photos. I'll look through where everything is clear. It isn't where I am, it's only where I'll go from here. And that matters now, and I am not afraid, as everything I'll ever need appears. This is how my world gets made. Howdy.
Hi.
Well, my 50s are chock-a-block full of activity, aren't they? I put down a clipboard, a serving tray, and 5 cameras. I picked up 2 dumbbells and a microphone, and here we are. Midlife crisis in full swing. It's not a crisis to me, though. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy in love, I'm wise-ish. Everybody's talking at me. I don't hear a word they're saying, only the echoes of my mind. People stop and stare. I can't see their faces, only the shadows of their eyes. I'm going where the sun keeps shining through the pouring health scare a while back. Landed me in the hospital, under the knife, and in recovery for way too long. And it was long enough to lie around thinking about what you come from and where you're going, who you are, and how you want to be. Well, I'm going where the sun keeps shining through the pouring rain. I'm going where the weather suits my clothes. I'm banking off of the northeast winds and sailing on a summer breeze. I'm skipping over the ocean like a stone. Everybody's they're talking at me. Talking at me. Talking at me. Thank you. It's just hot water. It's not what you think it is. Hello, everybody. Oh my God, look at all of you. I couldn't be more excited to see you, and I really couldn't be more excited to see them. With you out there and them up here, anything could happen tonight. So here's the deal. I've been a storyteller all my life. As a child, with blank sheets of paper and crayons and pencils, pens, typewriter keys. Who remembers typewriter keys? Eventually, the typewriter keys became computer keyboards, so much for paper. And I had cameras, so much for paper. And we've all got lips to tell stories. I think that stories are a really important part of our lives. It is by sharing our stories that we see inside of each other, and by hearing our histories that we see inside of ourselves. And I had a really good time doing it, but I never told stories with music before. I always wanted to, but I got a little shy, nervous, scared. And then one day, Georgia Osborne said to me, "Honey, you're supposed to make a joyful noise, not a pretty one." So here I am. And since joy is my favorite emotion these days, tonight I've chosen songs that are only songs that make me happy. Hit it. There is no trick to a can. It is so simple to do. When you once get to a can, it is so easy for you. If a lady in Iran can, if a shady African can, if a Jap with a slap of a fan can too. If an English Dapperdan can, if an Irish Callahan can, if it can, every 10 courtesan can. Woo, baby, you can do. If it don't feel ever swell like cotton, it is so simple to do. If Debussy and Ravel can, it would be so easy for Faye. If a Lou Custodian can, if the God Republican can, if Van Gogh and Matisse and Cézanne can, baby, you can too. If the chief in the Sudan can, if FDR God can, if in Lesbos a pure lesbian can, baby, you can too. What a silly song. I could have sung Begin to Begin or Night and Day, but I had to go with Can because it makes me happy. I think it was 1985, the first time I heard the song Can. I was naturally drawn in by the bounce and the pep and the melody. But the more I listened to it, the more I found myself saying, damn, this song is racy. And I wondered if in 1953, when Cole Porter wrote Can, was it as racy? Was it racy at all? I mean, it was 1953. You could just say things like, if a Jap with a slap of a fan can. But in 1985, shit was racy. And today it's racist. And if you know me, and some of you know me, you know I love racy, and I love racist. Not that kind of racist. No sheet wearing, not people hating. I'm talking about the kind of racism that gives people of a so-called, excuse the air quotes, minority, an opportunity to inform through art.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Margaret Cho. Bisexual, Korean, yeah. You know what, she's everything. Spike Lee, Ani DeFranco, Gordon Merrick. You know, these are artists that are sharing their truth with their audience. And truth is the most important thing of all. My truth is that I have a race card. My husband says I play it too much. But they also say you have to play the hand you're dealt. Now, if I pulled my hand away from the vest, you would see that I have a gay card, shocking. I have a bald card, now you know. I have a reformed drama queen card, sometimes. I'll set them up if you knock them down. I have a short card. I used to be 5'8", now I'm 5'7". I'm shrinking. Bummer. But the card that I've been living with and dealing with the longest is my race card. Because I was born 1/4 Filipino. And I was just a kid the first time somebody called me a gook. And trust me when I tell you, I've been called every name in the book. And I thought that as I grew and the world grew and we grew up together, we'd grow wiser and better and things might change a little. You're shaking your head. No, it's changed a little. It's changed a little, okay? I mean, has anyone here read a profile on a gay hookup app? No fats, no femmes, no blacks, no Asians. And we always get last billing, and what I want to know... I want to know, is it because we're an afterthought or because we're special? Like, do you guys remember this? And starring Miss Barbara Stanwyck as Victoria Barclay. Miss Barbara Stanwyck as Victoria... So, hey, I'll tell you a real quick story. I was on a dance floor a few years back. They call them clubs now, but we call them discos. And young man glommed onto me. And we danced together for about 20 or 30 minutes before he said to me, "What are you?" He put it, you've been in clubs, you know how you have to put your finger right here next to there and say, "What are you?" And then they say, "Spanish Filipino." And he says to me, "You know, I'm not usually into Asians, but you're hot, so it's okay." And I put my hands on his shoulders. I removed his body from my body. I said, "Thank you for making me the exception to your racism." And then I found a new dance partner. And he was young, too. All right, but here's the thing. I've been dealing with this stuff my whole life, and I'm a quarter Filipino, and I found myself wondering, Texan, found myself wondering what it was like for my grandfather in the first part of the last century as an immigrant, or my mama, who was half Filipino, and it really showed, and she went to Hollywood High in the 50s, and so I went to mama, and I said to her, "What was it like for you growing up ethnic in Hollywood in the 50s?" And she said to me, "I could take care of myself." And it's true. My mother was a tough lady. And I may have inherited some of that from her. And in spite of the fact that she was tough and could handle it herself, she got herself into a gang. Not West Side Story, Grease. Okay? Think Betty Rizzo without the promiscuity. So that's my mother, 15, in a gang. But my mother also had a lot of duality about her, and I may have inherited some of that too. The flip side to my mother's race card is that she was a glamour queen. Because her mother, my grandmother Marjorie, she designed and made all of my mother's clothing. So every year in the fall, she went back to school with the fall collection. She was always in couture, and so at the age of 15, my mother found her mother, Marjorie, dolling both of them up in couture to go to hit the hot spots around Hollywood and Beverly Hills. In the 50s, women at the door of an establishment were turned away for not having an escort, right? So my grandmother Scots, Irish, and Cherokee. So she's standing there dressed up with her fair skin and freckles and green eyes and red hair, standing next to the Filipina Elizabeth Taylor, and no mistake. And she'd say to the man at the door, she said, "Do you know who this is? This is Hawaii's Princess Malakilini Lana. Do you really want to start an incident between the states?" Now, you know they got into that club. I know it too, because they told me that story when I was 5 years old, and I've heard it every year since. See, that was the other part of my mom's race card. She was smart. She learned how to use what she was given to her advantage. My mother has told me many times in my life that she only ever did exactly what she wanted. And I may have inherited some of that. It's your life, and you have to do what you want in life. One has to face a huge assortment of nauseating fads and good advice. There's health and fitness, diet, and deportment, and other pointless forms of sacrifice. Conversation, wit, I am a doubter. Manners and charms are no way to impress. So forget the inner me, observe the outer. I am what I'm wearing and how I dress. Oh, now I believe in looking like my time on earth is cooking, whether polka dotted, striped, or even checked, with some glamour guaranteeing every fiber of my being is displayed to quite remarkable effect. From your cradle via trousseau to your deathbed, you're on view. So never compromise, accept no substitute. I would rather wear a barrel than conservative apparel, 'cause dress has always been my strongest. My grandmother worked for Paramount Pictures. It's true, in the wardrobe department with the legendary Edith Head. When I was a kid, grandmother would sit me down, open up her wallet, pull out her Paramount Pictures ID card, and then she would tell me about the old days, and that was my shit. Because I was into old movies and old movie stars and old Hollywood. In my grandmother's dresser, she had this drawer filled with mementos, and she would pull them out and show them to me. The first thing I'd see was this huge patch after patch after patch of black sequined fabric. But one of the patches, the sequins were all melted and fused together. And I asked her why. And she says to me, this was once a dress worn by Ginger Rogers. But we had a new girl in the department, and she didn't know what happens when you put a hot iron onto. She wanted to iron that dress. And so the dress was ruined, and Edith had said, I'm going to throw this away. And my grandmother said, no, 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 these are good sequins. I'm taking that shit home with me, okay? She was convinced that she would use those sequins one day. She never did. She gave them to me. And I picked those suckers off, and I sewed them onto costumes that I wore in plays in high school and college. Obviously, musicals, no Ibsen. My grandmother had this big roll of paper. It was like the paper from grocery store bags. And she would put it on the dining table and unfurl them. And they were costume sketches that she had done for Joan Crawford and Jean Tierney and Loretta Young. And she would tell me who each one was for. She had a big 8x10 envelope full of black and white negatives, 8x10 negatives that we'd hold up to the light, and we would see archival photos of costume sketches for movie stars, and she would tell me which celebrity and which movie was represented in each drawing. Grandmother told me stories about the bungalow where Edith Head would fit the costumes and the workroom where she made the costumes. And she told me that if a star or starlet arrived for a fitting, but they were early, she let them in if they had behaved like a star in previous fittings. But if they hadn't, she made them wait outside. And if you were standing outside Edith's Head bungalow and somebody walked by and saw you, they knew that you'd been busted by bad behavior, for bad behavior by Edith Head, you know? And, really? You want to know? You want to know? I can see your face, Stevie. You want to know? Barbara Stanwyck. Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
My mother's babysitter, Lana Turner. These girls always got in early because they knew how to behave like stars. Lisbeth Scott, and Veronica Lake were two of the girls left outside waiting. Grandmama would show me pictures, big pictures by Hurrell of Dietrich and Garbo, and she'd say, look at the way that the light catches in the folds of her hair, but extends the eyelashes. And notice how she stands and how it matches the line of the dress and the way she drags the fur on the floor. These talks with Marjorie are what gave me an interest in beauty and glamour and sophistication. These talks with my mother's mother, they made me want to be an artist and a photographer. These talks with my grandmother made me gay. Staying in and hitting townward, from the top and working downward, I ensure that every stitch is stitched in time. Whether wig or hat or turban, whether clad boots or urban, not to strut your stuff outrageously is such a crime. And the few who are invited to my wardrobe are enlightened as they wander through my things and find en route that in intimate or formal I am anything but normal, 'cause rest has always been my strongest suit. Samson and Delilah, Hedy Lamarr, Victor Mature, Angela Lansbury. Do you guys remember the peacock cape? No? All right. So, you're gonna have to Google this, okay? You need to see this cape. Hedy Lamarr with this cape, tip to tail, nothing but peacock eyes, okay? Grandmother told me to make the cape, I can't believe you don't know this story. To make the cape, they had to put the cape on this big table in the workroom. They would straight pin the peacock eye all the way down and then clip the tails. And then all the stitchers would stand around the table, glue a peacock eye, and throw away the straight pin and move on to the next one, glue the peacock. Well, there was this one woman who had a very particular way of doing this job. She would glue a peacock eye and remove a straight pin, and she would go, and she would glue an eye and remove a straight pin and go, and she kept doing this until none of the other women were working. They're all standing around watching this horrifying sight. Grandmother goes to Edith Head, and she says, could you come out here? Edith Head comes out, she says, nobody's working. Grandmother says, watch this. Oh my God, okay, we need to get her off of this job. Take her off of the cape, put her on buttons and bows. And so they went to the woman, they said, we need you on buttons and bows. And she said, oh, okay. She left the cape, and before she went to buttons and bows, she stopped at the side table and she started pulling out all the straight pins and dropped them into a little tray. And before she left, she reached inside her blouse, inside her bra, and pulled out 2 of Joan Crawford's shoulder pads. So bring me all my finest, most audacious, might and finest, most revealing, most expensive, and to boot, most arresting, heart-stopping, free-flowing, eye-popping dress has always been. I've interviewed Pablo Picasso and a countess named DeFrasso. I interviewed the great Stravinsky, but my greatest achievement was the interview I had with the star who worked for
Minsky.
Minsky, thank you. I met her on the Yankee Clipper. She didn't unzip one zipper. I said, Miss Lee, Gypsy Rose, you're such an artist. Tell me how you never miss. What do you think of while you work? She told me, while I work, my thoughts go something like this. Zip, Walter Lippmann wasn't brilliant today. Zip, will Soroyan ever write a great play? Zip, I was reading Schopenhauer last night. Zip, and I think that Schopenhauer was right. I don't want to see Zarina, I don't want to meet Kabina. Zip, I'm an intellectual. I don't like a deep contralto or a man whose voice is alto. Zip, I'm a heterosexual. Zip, it took intellect to master my art. Zip, who the hell is Margie Hart? My grandfather also worked in Hollywood, but not for the studio. He worked for the Star. Mae West. Now, here's the thing you don't know about Mae West. Mae West loved children, but she didn't have children. So she got her maternal fix in by making a deal with grandfather. She said, I'll pay you every Thursday if you bring Snooky over to play. Snooky was my mom. She was 5. And grandfather said, okay. And so every Thursday they would doll mommy up, like Shirley Temple. They would take her over to Mae West's house where she would sit in the kitchen with grandfather on a stool until about noon. Because Mae West had to sleep in, waken up, freshen up, and I mean the full Marlena. She did the hair, the makeup, the eyelashes, the white with the feathers and the frills and everything. And around noon she'd call the kitchen and she'd say, Ben, you can send Snooky up now. And so mommy would tiptoe down the hall and she'd knock on the door. And Mae West would say, come on in, Snooky. And mama would open the door and there's Mae West, sitting in a round bed, buried in a field of pillows. And mama would hop up on the bed. Now, Miss West was under the covers, but mama would be on top of the covers, and she would bury in the pillows too. And they would sit there, and they would eat hard candy out of a cut crystal bowl, and they would visit with each other, and look at each other and themselves in the mirror. Round to match the bed. And they would do this all afternoon until after a while Miss West would throw back the covers and she would get out of bed and she'd walk across the room and she'd take off the frippery frills. And underneath Mae West was wearing a leotard and tights because she was a workout queen. My mother would sit there and watch her do this for an hour every Thursday, but the thing is she did it every day of the week. She did calisthenics and she had a set of dumbbells and do you guys remember this thing? It was 2 handles with coils and you would do this like, you remember that, don't you? You had one, okay. So Mae West did this every day because she was getting a little older and she was paranoid. She knew who she was and she was going to hang on to that. She was the sex symbol of Hollywood. So Mae West was determined to defy gravity. Zip! I consider Dolly's paintings passé. Zip! Can they make the Metropolitan pay? Zip! English people don't say clerk, they say Clark. Zip! Anybody who says Clark is a shark. I have read the great Kabbalah and I simply worship all a Zip. I am just a mystic. I don't care for Whistler's mother, Charlie's aunt, or Schubert's brother, Zip. I'm misogynistic, Zip. My intelligence is guiding my hand. Zip. Who the hell is Sally Rand? Mae West kept all of her jewelry in this little jewelry box. It was fake. She had exact replicas of the jewelry that she kept in the bank vault. When she had a premiere to go to, she would have grandfather and the bodyguard get her in the Rolls Royce, drive her to the bank. She would go through the bank with that funny little Mae West walk into the vault. She would get the real stuff and she would pull it out and then she would either switch it for the fake or not switch it for the fake. And when she got in the car, she'd put the jewelry on. Now, the reason she did this is so that nobody would rob her, because it was well known that she did this, and she wanted people to always guess, is she wearing real stuff or is she wearing paste? So one time they go to the bank to get the jewels. She's in the vault. Grandfather's there. The bodyguard is there. The bodyguard's got a belt. And there was a new teller on duty who saw the gun in his belt. And so he sounded the alarm. And the police came. Now here's the thing, they don't really care what kind of cockamamie story you tell. If you've got a gun in a bank, you get taken downtown. So here's Mae West. She comes out of the vault. She's all dressed up for appearing. She got the jewelry box and she looks around and she's like, where's Benny? Where are my boys? No, really, where are my boys? The bank manager goes over, he tells her sheepishly, apologetically, what happened. She says, that's okay. She goes over to the teller. She withdraws a lot of money so she can go down to the jail and bail them out and go to the premiere, except that she didn't know how to drive. Stranded at the bank with Mae West. The only way to get the movie star to the premiere was to call the jail, send a squad car back to the bank to take the movie star back to the jail, to pick up the chauffeur, to take her back to the bank, to pick up the Rolls Royce, and take her to the premiere. Zip! Toscanini leads the greatest of bands. Zip! Jergens lotion does the trick for his hands. Zip! Marilyn Monroe looks just dandy in mink. Zip! She not only acts, I hear, she can think. I adore the great Confucius, they have the lines of blue, she's like Zip. I am so eclectic, I don't care for either Mickey Mouse and Rooney, make me sicky Zip. I'm a little hectic Zip. My intelligence is classic and dear. Zip. Who the hell's Lily St. Cyr? My grandfather was Spanish, Filipino, and superstitious as all hell. And Mae West was into the occult. She had this lover who died. He was the love of her life, and she was continually having seances to communicate with him in the afterlife. So one day my grandfather comes to work, and she's having the umpteenth seance. She's got friends, she's got a medium. He says, I quit on the spot. Mae West calls my grandmother. She says, Marjorie, can you please get Benny to come back to work? Every day for a week. Marjorie, please ask Benny to come back to work. After a week, my grandmother says, sweetheart, my darling, he is never coming back into that house full of ghosts. And with that, they left Hollywood. They bought a farm in Fresno. And there was an end to beauty and glamour and sophistication. All that remains is at my house today. A bunch of rolled up old drawings, some black and white negatives, and a little gay boy who grew up fabulous. So bring me on my finest, most audacious, my divinest, most revealing, most expensive, and to boot, most arresting, heart-stopping, free-flowing, and eye-popping. Dress has always been my strongest, my strongest, my strongest, my strongest suit. Thank you. Good night. Oh my gosh. I feel like I swam the channel. Oh. Okay, here's the truth. I was intended to go into show business, but I got distracted by photography for a few decades. Between my grandparents' association with old Hollywood and my parents' association with the circus. You didn't know this, did you? My mom and dad were in the circus. When my father was 15, he ran away and joined the circus. I saw that. And when he got to the circus, he called his parents and said, I want to tour with a stunt show called Art Swinson's Thrillcade. And if you will let me do this for the summer, I'll come back to high school in the fall. And his parents trusted him, and so they said, go. And so he did that. Every year of his high school career, he would go school, Art Swinson's Thrillcade, school, Art Swinson's Thrillcade. And when he graduated from high school, he became a Marine. And somewhere down the road, he met the prettiest girl either he or I have ever met. And he married her. And when that happened, he called up Mr. Swinton and he said, hey, Mr. Swinton, it's Johnny Mosher. My father was the youngest stunt performer in the business. Clink, clink. Mr. Swinton said, Johnny, do you want to work? And my father said, no, I just called to say hi. I just got married. And Mr. Swinton said, does she want to work? And my mom said, what the hell? Which is what she said a lot, what the hell? So they toured the South for 2-3 years as members of the circus. My daddy would get on motorcycles and ride them through firewalls. Or he would get on cars and go off ramps and over 18-wheelers. Mama was the girl in the cheerleader skirt with the helmet. And she would stand on the roofs of cars with a little handle like this, and they would go around a track like this, and then at one point they would ride up on 2 wheels and she would do this in the audience. And they did that for 2 or 3 years, state fairs, county fairs, the carnies. And then one day she says to my father, we're gonna have a baby. And he said, we quit. Because she couldn't do that stuff while she was pregnant. And they left the circus, and when I was 5 years old, my grandmother said to me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, a movie star. And I am a movie star. It's only one movie, but I'm one of the stars. Married and Counting it was my idea. Yes, it was. My husband, Pat, took it and ran with it, and he ran right to Allan Piper, who became the captain of our ship. He was our director, our editor, our producer, and the lady that he would marry, Jennifer Houston, she did everything else. She was second camera, she composed the movie music, she made every wedding cake. I think that it's fair to say that for the 4 of us, I looked right at you too. For the 4 of us, Married and Counting is one of our proudest moments. And when the movie came out, we did the festival circuit, and we tried to hit as many festivals as we could. Sometimes one of us would go, and sometimes all four of us. We were lucky in that all four of us were able to go to Los Angeles for the week that the movie played there. I know, only a week, but you know, what are you going to do? We were booked to do a bunch of Q&As, and the very first day, the very first Q&A we had was in the biggest theater I had been in with the movie. And it was the four of us and two strangers. I was devastated. I was crestfallen. I almost left the theater. In fact, I started to get up. About 20 minutes in the movie, I started to get up, and a voice in my head said, "Sit your ass down and watch this movie with your family." And I did. And after about another 20 or so minutes, I realized that I was seeing my face on the biggest screen I had ever seen it on. And my husband's face. And my mother's face. And we were 4 blocks from Paramount Studios. It was enough. And, God damn it. I watched that movie and I left the theater and I've never seen it again. Because I've had my ultimate experience with that film. Sometimes I do watch the trailer on YouTube. It's a good trailer. And I look back on it, and sometimes Pat and I talk about this, sometimes Jennifer and I talk about this. What a happy time it was. It was truly one of the happiest times of our lives. And I've come to the realization as I've gotten older that you can't be that happy all the time. You get to be happy, and then if you're lucky, you get to be happy, and then you come back down to happy. It can't always be like that. And you just take it, and you live with it, and you keep those beautiful, happy, gorgeous memories. Some last a lifetime, some just a day. Love isn't something you measure that way. Nothing's ever, forever, forever's a lie. All we have is the time between hello and goodbye. It's not how long the spring, it's not how high the sky. It's just how sweet the time between hello and goodbye. The music has ended, I still hear the song. The moment was brief, but our kisses were long. Though the loving is ended, the love of you stays, and the memories will warm me the rest of my days. It's not how long the spring or how high the sky, it's just how sweet the time between hello and goodbye. We never shared September or saw the colors of fall, but in that wink of time we knew we had it all. It's not how long the spring or how high the sky, it's just how sweet the time. Between hello and goodbye. Script here. I want to tell you a story about that song because of all the songs that I sing, I think that's the one that is most likely to have absolutely nobody here know it and saying, what is that song? The song is called Between Hello and Goodbye. It was by the Bergmans. Marilyn and Allan, and it was written for a movie in the 70s called From Noon Till 3, which nobody saw because it's not a very good movie. You saw it! Ellen Osborne saw it! It's not a very good movie, okay? But, and it's because it didn't know whether it was a Western or a comedy or a sex comedy or a rom-comedy or a satire, and I saw it when I was 13. Because we were living in Portugal, and my mama and daddy, they thought it would be nice to treat me like I was a grown-up. And so they took me to a grown-up movie. And so here's the thing, y'all. Anybody here who has children or will have children, I want to tell you, when your child turns 13, sitting in a movie cinema with your mother on your left and your father on your right is not where you want to be when the Charles Bronson dick joke drops. 5 cents, please. It's true. That was a true story.
Let's see.
All right. I was 15 years old and walking down 10th Avenue. As one does. When one is 15 in 1980 and visiting New York with your family. We were here on vacation and we always stayed at the Dorset Hotel on 54th and 6th. And I had read in After Dark magazine about this... Oh, you know After Dark magazine. I had read in After Dark magazine about this record store in the Village where I could buy all the cast albums and soundtracks that I could shove into my suitcase to take back to Switzerland. And so I got a map to map out the route. Because I didn't want to take the subway. That shit was scary in 1980, okay? And so I left the Dorset Hotel on 54th and 6th and walked over to 10th Avenue and down 10th Avenue to the West Village. Your mouth is on the floor. So here... I wore topsiders without socks. I wore tight white jeans. I wore a royal blue terry cloth t-shirt. I had a perpetual tan. I had chestnut colored hair that swept off my forehead and down my back in waves and cascades. I had a perpetual tan, cheekbones out to here, flared nostrils, almond-shaped eyes. I was almost unbearably pretty, and I am not lying one little bit when I say this. Somewhere in my current neighborhood, between 54th Street and 45th Street, a man stopped me and he said, "You're a model." And I said, "No, I'm not a model." And he said, "Well, if you're not a model, you should be a model, and I am a photographer. And I've got to take your picture." Now, I don't have a portfolio to show you, because I'm just building my portfolio, and you would be in that portfolio if you let me take your picture. And I said, "Oh, shit. I can dig it." So, here's the thing. I said to him, "I'm here with my family for 4 more days. We stay at the Hilton Hotel on 6th Avenue. Call the hotel front desk and ask for the Kavanaugh room. And when you get the Kavanaugh room, ask for Chris." That's me. I wasn't stupid. I saw fame. I wasn't going to be Coco taking off my top and some Asians brownstone, okay? But I have thought about that man every day since. I'll tell you why. First of all, what a nice compliment, right? Secondly, I really hope he wasn't Herb Ritz. But here's the real reason I've thought of him every single day since. Every time that I ever went to a stranger with my camera and said, "Can I take your picture?" I really hoped that they wouldn't think I was a perv. And sometimes they did, because they said no. But sometimes they didn't, and they said yes. And sometimes they become your best friend and favorite boy singer-songwriter, Dan Tracy. Woo! Come up here and sing. All right, there. Are we in the light? Are we in the light? Yeah. Come into the light. Yes. Dan, do you remember when we used to cater together?
How could you ever forget?
Yeah. Do you remember one day when I called you and I was in a really, really, really bad mood?
You gotta be more specific.
Wow.
I called him up one day. I was like, "I hate my life. I hate catering. I hate it so much." So we hang up the phone, and like 2 minutes later, you sent me a message that had a song attached to it. So I never told you this, but I always believed that you wrote that song on the spot to cheer me up. Even though I got the message 2 minutes later and the song is 3.5 minutes long. And to this day in my heart, I believe that you wrote that song to cheer me up.
Say yes.
Yeah, I mean, I work fast.
Let's do it. He wrote this.
People say cut your hair, I say oh okay.
People say lose some weight, I say whatever you say.
I smile, I'm a smile, and then I'm on my way.
'Cause they ain't gonna tell me how to live my day. People used to try and make fun of me if I ever said something with which they didn't agree.
And it's really too bad those people just can't see. It takes at least 2 notes to make a harmony. So I hear you've been feeling bad. Well, I sure hate to see you sad. Well, I'm sure you probably felt better, and I know you're still a go-getter, but sometimes life's gonna get you down. So slow, that's it, easy does it, 'cause you know you're gonna rise above it. And sometimes life is so much easier when you smile. I hate to see somebody who's feeling blue, especially somebody who's a friend like you. 'Cause then in a moment I will feel blue too, and I wish that there was something I could do. Maybe you tripped and you fell flat on your face.
Maybe you spilled your cereal all over the place.
You see, people got problems, but whatever the case, it's up to you to let them take up space. If today hasn't gone your way, by tomorrow it will have been yesterday. Well, I'm sure you probably felt better, and I know you're still a go-getter, but sometimes life's gonna get you down. So slow, that's it, easy does it, 'cause you know you're gonna rise above it. And sometimes life is so much easier when you smile. And somewhere somebody's busted too, somebody just like you.
Don't you know that some things never change?
You don't have to run away, you can make your own sunny days.
Just wash that doom and gloom off in the rain.
Because gloomy's not your style, so let me see that smile. I look a bit funny,
Well, I'm not that smart.
there's plenty folks better than me. Take you for a start, but I'm doing just fine because I take it to heart. That sometimes life is so much easier when you smile. Ooh.
I can't do that. I'm going to try. Ooh. So, when we tried this show out in 2017, there were 5 of us up here. Jennifer Houston can't be with us tonight. She broke a finger. She can't play her guitar. Thank God she can make cakes, okay? She can't play her guitar, but she can make cakes. By the way, sugarandbones.com for the best cakes you've ever had in your life. Go to YouTube and look at Jen's Shut Your Cake Hole, okay? This message has been brought to you by. Alright, so, but Jennifer is with us tonight in spirit and in this next number because she created this arrangement for me and for the show. And happily, Dan and Don have learned it. So thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Don. Let's do it. It's nice, isn't it? If I ask of you, is it alright if I ask you to hold me tight through a cold dark night? 'Cause there may be a cloudy day inside, and I need to let you know that I might be needing your love. Oh, 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 oh. What I'm trying to say isn't really new. It's just the things that happen to me when I'm reminded of Jimmy Russo, like when I hear your name or see a place that you've been, or see a picture of your grin, or pass a house that you've been in one time or another. It sets off something in me that I can't explain, and I can't wait to see you again. Oh babe, I love your love. Oh, 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 oh. Dance break. What I'm trying to say isn't really new. It's just the things that happen to me when I'm reminded of you. Okay. Who knew that song? Who knew that song? Somebody here knew that song.
I know that song.
Okay, what's it from?
Fame.
Fame, that's right. Who saw the movie Fame when it came out? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, did it fuck you up? Group therapy! Excuse my profanity, but that movie did a major number on me. I was 15 or 16. I was a gay teenager with aspirations to go on the stage, become a movie star, become famous, and I went to see Fame and I said, that's my life! That's my life! I'm gonna go to New York. I'm gonna live in Alan J. Parker's dingy 70s moonlighting. I'm gonna study my craft. I'm gonna dance on top of taxi cabs. I'm gonna become rich and famous. I'm gonna apply my craft. And that shit never happened. And it really pissed me off. For about 33 years. I finally let go of the anger, guys. I finally let go of the anger. Thank you, transcendental meditation. Here's the thing, when I look back on it, when I look back on all the anger, all the bitterness and regret, and I say, oh well. You know, when you get to the point that I'm at, and really it's so cliche, I can see clearly now. It's so cliche, but I can. And when you get to this point and you can see things clearly, you can say, okay, it didn't happen. I didn't get the dream that I wanted, but who does? Here's the thing. Andy Warhol says everybody gets 15 minutes of fame. I got 9. 9 limited, restricted minutes of fame. I had 3 minutes for the sweater book. I had 4 minutes for Married and Counting, and 2 minutes for social media presence. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I didn't get that dream, but I got a different dream, you guys. And I'm happy. I married the man of my dreams. I made some beautiful friends along the way, many of whom are in this room. I made some beautiful art. I'm going to say it. I'm going to own it. I made beautiful art, and I brushed up against some really famous people on the way. Do you want to hear the story from the sweater book? You do. You knew that was coming, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because you see the book up here on the piano. All right, here's what I've done. I have prepared 5 different stories from the sweater book. I have placed cards randomly on tables around the room. Actually, Pat placed them for me. I don't want to see the names, but if you have a card with the name of a celebrity, hold it up. Who's got a card? Let me see. Hands up. Hands up. Okay. What you got? Who you got?
Stockard Channing.
Stockard Channing. Stockard Channing. Okay. All right, let me do this, okay? Because I brought the book so you can see the picture. Stockard, okay? Stockard Channing, okay? Let me tell you about Stockard Channing. When I was doing the sweater book, I knew no one. I came to New York, I knew nobody. But she had said, everyone on this planet is separated by a trail of 6 people. And I thought, I can get to anybody. So I started dropping letters off at stage doors around New York City. I would write to people and say, this is what I'm doing, this is the charity that's getting the money, and this is who's in it. But nobody was in it. I had no celebrities in the book. So I was leaving these letters at stage doors all around town and thinking, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then Stockard Channing was in a play in New York, and I wrote to her, and she never answered. And then she left town, the play closed. And then by the time she came back to town with another play, I had picked up some celebrities to be in the book. And I wrote to her, and she didn't answer. So I wrote to her again, and she didn't answer. And finally I said, well, you know what? I'm going to really pull out all the stops, like you're dating her, like you're wooing her. And I baked her a huge basket of muffins for the entire cast of the play. And I dropped them off at the stage door at Lincoln Center. Now, my parents at the time were living across the river in Secaucus, New Jersey. And I was over there visiting them one day, and I'm checking my answering machine. You guys remember answering machines? Check my answering machine. Hi, this is Stockard Channing. I got your basket of muffins. I got all your letters. I'm so sorry it took me so long to get back to you. The play closes on Sunday. Let's see if we can make it. I was like, it's Thursday. You know, let's see if we can make it happen. I hope it works out. Click. So I called her back immediately from Secaucus and leave a message saying, all right, I'm coming back to the city right now. I am at your disposal. I'm at your disposal. And next thing I know, check my messages, because I'm checking them every few minutes. Hi, this is Stockard Channing. I got your message. Okay, I'm doing 2 shows on Saturday. You'll come to the theater. We'll take the picture in between the shows. I hope it works out. Click. So I call back and I say, I will come to Lincoln Center. We'll take your picture between Little Fox's shows. You just tell me what time you want me to be there. A few minutes later, hi, this is Stockard Channing. Okay, the show comes down at 5. We'll take the picture really quickly at 5:15. I have a radio interview to do at 5:30. We'll have 10 minutes. Hope it works out. Click. So, you haven't heard this one. So I go to Lincoln Center. I've got my light bag. I've got the portfolio of pictures. I've got the sweater. Who's been backstage at Lincoln Center? It's very modern and long hallways, like you're at a college, you know. And so I'm standing in this really, really long hallway with fluorescent lighting, standing outside this dressing room, waiting for Stockard Channing. I'm a little bit nervous because she has become a beacon of light. 6 degrees, 6 degrees. And so the elevator way down at the end of the hall opens up, and here comes Stockard Channing. She's about this tall, tiny, tiny. She's got these very, very tall men with her, and she's in her Regina Giddens drag. The wig was this big. The train was this big. And so she comes down. She's like, I have to change. I'll be ready in just a few minutes. And I'm thinking to myself, she had that fucking wig on. She's gonna look awful. She's gonna look terrible. All that makeup and the wig smashing down her hair. She opens the door looking like a movie. Well, you saw the picture. She's toned down the makeup. She's fluffed up her hair. She's wearing a black t-shirt and black slacks, and we go into this really rather boring dressing room. You know, it's not like the dressing rooms in a Judy Garland movie, right? It's just, you know, white and this long table and lights and just not even any telegrams on the mirrors or anything. And it's tiny. It's about as big as the space where Ricky's piano is. And so I put up one light, and Stockard Channing is polite, but she's not friendly. She's just met me, you know? And so I'm trying to chat with her, and I open up the book and I let her look at it, and she's friendly enough. And I got I think we had 2 lights on, and she hops up onto the dressing table. She's got the sweater on. And we're taking the pictures, and I'm like, this is Stockard Channing. And I was broke, I was poor, I didn't have enough money to shoot 2 rolls of film and develop 2 rolls of film, but I shot 2 rolls of film, let me tell you. And so we're working and taking pictures, and I said to her, do you know the first movie I ever saw you in? And she goes, Grease. And I said, no. It was The Girl Most Likely to. And she said, really? And I said, yes, the movie that Joan Rivers wrote where you killed off all the people. Yeah, I love that movie. So we really, truly only did have 10 minutes. We took the pictures as quickly as we could. And once we'd had that exchange about The Girl Most Likely to, she became a little warmer, a little friendlier. And then they came and they took her away. And she had been polite, she had been friendly. I had my beautiful pictures of Stockard Channing. So at that time, my literary agent was a famous actor named Edward Hibbert. Edward Hibbert. His day job was literary agent. In the meantime, he played Gil Chesterton on Frasier. He was the cooking. He was my literary agent, darling. And we had the best talk. So I come in and he says, she should marry you for this picture. Flash forward several years, many years. Stockard's on Broadway in Paljoy. And I've been running around with my sweater book asking people, like a yearbook, would you sign my book? Would you sign my book? And so I have to, I don't know her. We didn't become friends. And so I'm waiting at the stage door with all the other. I'm waiting at the stage door. And I'm standing there waiting for Stockard Channing to come out. I've got my sweater book and I'm kind of nervous, you know. Look, she's not going to remember me. And I've got my Sharpie, I'm ready to go. And she comes out and she's very friendly. She's polite, signing everybody. And I hold the book out and she goes, what am I wearing? What is this? When was this? So I reminded her and she goes, oh yeah. Okay, great. She signed it off. She went. And that's the last I've ever seen her Stockard Channing. But she really should have married me. Annalisa.
This one.
Yeah.
Who you got?
Dana.
Who you got?
Valerie Green.
Valerie Perrine. Valerie, do you guys remember Valerie Perrine?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Valerie Perrine was Miss Teschmacher in the Superman movies with Christopher Reeve. All right, so Valerie Perrine. I don't remember how I got Valerie to pose for me, but she was living in New York City at the time. This is a really profane story. Can you guys handle it? Mr. Alexander, can you handle it? Okay, there's some dirty language in here. Okay. This is real. Okay, so I get the call that Valerie Perrine will pose for me. Now, here's the interesting thing. You know, seeing how movie stars live is very interesting because some of them live very palatially and some of them very simply. Valerie called me in the middle of a New York City ice storm and said, I want to do my picture. And so we go, I'm like, so we go over to her apartment on the Upper East Side, okay? It's a nice building, it's a doorman building, but it's simple. We get there, her apartment is smaller than my apartment, okay? And we walk in, and I'm thinking, how are we going to do, she wants to do it outside in the middle of an ice storm. We walk in, and it's one of the parts where literally, here's the hallway, there's the kitchen. There's the living room, there's the bathroom, there's the bedroom. It's that apartment, except that it's decorated within an inch of its life, okay? Every bit of wall space has pictures hanging on it. We walk in, and she says, hi, what do you want? Liquor, grass, booze? I've got anything. You can have anything you want. You know?
I like her.
Yeah. And I'm like, bitch, I've got to take pictures. I can't, you know. So we said, no, we're fine, we're fine. She said, okay. So she's having some wine, I think, and Pat's with me. My husband was with me. And we didn't take the picture immediately because she's like, you want to see around? You want? Yeah. And she's showing us the apartment and showing us pictures of the famous people. And this was the star of Farinelli, slept with him. You know, and she's going along and telling us about all the famous people. And she had this armoire in the living room. It was enormous. It was the centerpiece. So this is the only thing left after the earthquake. The earthquake is why I live in New York now. You know, she was an animal lover. She had a dog that was like, it took up as much space as the three of you right here. The dog was enormous in a New York City apartment. She says, this is my armoire. Getting it to New York was a nightmare, but it's literally the only thing that survived the earthquake, and I had to have it with me. So we get down to the picture taking, and she says, I want to take my picture outside. I said, Valerie, it's nighttime. I don't have a flash on my camera. She says, we'll make it work. We'll run an extension cord to the doorman's office, and you can bring the lights outside, we'll take the pictures on the sidewalk. And I said, okay, you know, extension cord, ice on the ground, extension cord, okay. You know. And so she says, and I want to do the picture in my mink. And she opens up the armoire, and it's full of minks. And she puts on her mink coat. Now, this is like 94, 95, and she says, I want to do the picture of my mink. And when your book comes out, if those PETA people bother you about it, just tell them that I said to fuck off. And I said, okay. So she puts the sweater on over her head. Oh, do you want to see the picture? Yeah. She puts the sweater on over her head. She puts the mink on. She's got the dog leash on her arm. And before we leave, she says, I love to fucking mink. Did everybody hear that? Yeah. And Pat says to her, Valerie, really? Who did you fuck in a mink coat? And she says, the Stones. And Pat said, Keith Richards too? And she said, he was the best. So we go outside. It turns out the extension cord will not reach from the doorman's office. And it's nighttime, it's dark, it's freezing, but there is one of those wrought iron fences. So I take off my coat, because I can't do this with my coat on, and I jam myself in between, because I've got to open the shutter. I've got to open the shutter as wide as I can. I've got to have the shutter speed as low as I can to get as much light into the camera as possible. There's going to be motion blur. I know there's going to be motion blur. And so I jam myself in there to hold it, you know, freezing my ass off. You know, she's holding a tree like this. And she's got the dog leash here, and the dog's just sitting on the floor, okay? And so she's hugging the tree. I'm taking the picture going, please God, let anything click, 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 freezing my ass off, click, click, click. We take the pictures, we say goodbye, and I'm like, you want to see the picture?
Yay!
I don't know if everybody can see this, but she got a full page in the book.
Because it's such a good picture.
Yes!
I never saw Valerie again. It was done. I didn't suck up to the stars. I didn't want to be a star fucker. Never saw her again. Would you want to? Anyway, I never heard from her again, never saw her again. The picture's in the book. I've always wondered whatever happened to her. But that is the only picture on a 36-roll film that was in focus. Who's got over there? Faye, who you got? B. Arthur! B. Arthur, we got a good one. Okay. They're all good. They're all good. Okay. B. Arthur. By the time I got to work with B. Arthur, I had been out to California a few times and people were starting to know my name. Yay! And so one day a friend of mine calls me up. I was staying with Daniel Henning out in Silver Lake. And my friend calls me up and says, I ran into B. Arthur at the gym. And talked to her about your book, and she said she'd do it. And I said, fantastic. And he said, you have to call today, because she will forget. You have to call today. And so I did. But I waited until a decent hour in the day, and I called her up, and, ring, hello. And I said, hi, I'm Stephen Mosher, calling for B. Arthur. She said, yes, now what's it going to take to do this? What do I have to do? Do I have to put on hair and makeup? I hate putting on hair and makeup. It's the worst thing ever. I mean, look at me. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm not even out of my nightie. And I said to her, I've read that you're doing a play in Beverly Hills. Yes. It was The Curse of the Bermuda Avenue Triangle, I think it was called. She was doing the play with Renee Taylor and Joe Bologna. I think they wrote it. And I said, you're doing a play. Why don't I come to the theater? We'll take your picture in the dressing room. You'll already be in hair and makeup. I didn't know that she was playing a witch in the show. And she says, I would love that. The play comes down at 10:30. And so Pat was with me in Los Angeles for this trip, thank goodness. Because we go to the theater, and the thing is, it wasn't always a theater. It was like it had been a movie theater or some kind of a conference hall or something, because it didn't have the trappings that a theater has. There was no fly space, there was no wing space, and you walked in, it was just flat, 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 flat. We get there, the play's not over yet, so we have to stand outside in the lobby, okay? And the ushers are very nervous about us. And so we hear the applause. I'm carrying my light bag, which is this enormous, it looks like it's got rifles in it. And so the applause finishes and the audiences come rushing out, and we wait for them all. And we start walking into the auditorium, and the thing is, we're walking at a diagonal and going, hello, hello, B. Arthur, Miss Arthur, it's Stephen Mosher. And there's no real proscenium arch, just a curtain. And we hear from backstage right, we hear, I'm back here in my hovel. So we head toward, and those places always where the screen used to be, there's a door. So we go to the door, and we open the door, and we go backstage, and what we find is there's a level where I'm standing, and then there's a level up, which is the stage, okay? And there's nothing but masking blacks, and there's in your old house when you were growing up, there's a ladder to the attic that you pull down, and the ladder comes down, and it's like that. So that's what there was. It was 3 steps up and a masking black. And B. Arthur pulls back, and she's very tall, and she said, hello, come into the hovel. The hovel was the size of space that Ricky's piano occupies. And what it was triangular shaped, and this triangle was the set. It was the wall of the set. And then here's the masking black that we've just passed through, and here's the masking black behind it. And what we realize is that when she opens the door from her dressing room and steps onto the stage, that's it. She is actually on stage level, and she opens the door and steps on. So she says, she looks at me and says, I look awful. I've got to fix this. And so she starts wiping off makeup and wiping off makeup. And she says, this is better, okay. What am I going to do with my hair? Now the thing is, you see how small this space is? There was no room for me to put up a light. You know, I had no light. Pat had to hold, now in those days, a photography light, I was using a light that was, the light went this direction and there was a silver rimmed umbrella here that would cast the light back on the subject. Now there was no room for that. Pat had to hold this light with barn doors on it, and we had to make the barn doors very tight so the light just shone down on her face. But the thing is, when you put a lady of advanced glamour into direct light, it's nothing but wrinkles. And so Pat's holding the light very, very high, and I'm going like, okay, the light's hot, it will wash out the wrinkles, okay? So she's like looking at her, she's like, oh, my hair is terrible. So she takes the sweater, and she sort of mushes it up against her face like this. And she looks up at the camera and says, how's this? And I said, that's great, that's beautiful. So I took her picture. She didn't move. And I took her picture, and I took her picture, and she didn't move. Pretty soon I'd taken like 16 pictures, and she hadn't moved once, and I thought, we're done. You know, this is all I'm gonna get from her. And I said, okay, we're done. She said, thank you for making that so quick and painless. I'm going to give you a reward. Would you like a Ricola? I hate their commercials, but I love their lozenges. So she gave us each a Ricola, and she put on her coat, and we wrapped up the lights, and we put together our stuff, and we walked her out of the hovel and through the theater, and we said our goodbyes. Every celebrity who did the book got to see their pictures and got to kill what pictures they didn't want. So I sent the contact sheet, I sent the kill sheet, she sent them back. She marked off 2 pictures, but in big blue Sharpie it says, they're fine. B. You want to see the picture?
Yes!
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
That's my B. Arthur story. Alan has one. Don't show me the name. Don't show me the name. Meryl has one. Meryl, let's do Meryl. Meryl, you've got one. Who'd you get?
Kate Mulgrew.
Kate Mulgrew. Do you guys know who that is?
Yes.
Dum, dum, dum. Any Trekkies in the house? Okay. All right. So we, I got a lot of people for the sweater book. I don't know if you can do this anymore. I used to buy the Hollywood Reporter. In the back of the Hollywood Reporter, it gave you the numbers of the production offices, and I would fax every celebrity on every TV show in the business. And for some reason, some of the Star Trek actors were called to say yes. And there's a man named Ethan Phillips, who is a beautiful actor and a beautiful man, and he played Neelix. And he calls me up and he says, I would love to do your book the next time you're in LA. So we go to LA, his real name is John Phillips, and he goes by Ethan professionally, but he says to us, please call me John. And so we're at his house, we're taking pictures of him in the backyard with his Buddha and his dogs, and he'd say things like, you know, I'm really from New York and I really don't know what to do with all this fucking sunshine out here. I miss smog, I miss rain, I miss the New York City Library. And you know, we are naturally in love with him now because Pat and I are diehard New Yorkers. And we're having this fabulous day with Ethan Phillips. And he says, do you know, Kate Mulgrew needs to be in your book. Would you like Kate Mulgrew to be in your book? And so Pat and I were big fans of the show, and we're trying hard not to lose it. And we're like, yeah, that would be nice. We want him in public. So he said, I'm gonna call Kate. A couple days go by, and he calls me in LA where I'm staying, and he says, Kate's gonna do it. And you have a drive on at the lot tomorrow. I never got drive-ons on the lot. I had to park and schlep my shit 6 blocks to the lot. And, you know, I always felt like such a party crasher. Like, oh, Stephen Mosher, I'm here to go to the set of Sybil. You know, but on this day, we pulled up to Paramount Pictures, and there's the gate, and they said, you're at stage number, and I don't remember the name of the stage. You're at stage number, and we said, where's that? It's over there, but you have to park over here. So we park the car, and I've got the camera bag. We were early for once. I've got the camera bag, Pat's got the light bag, and he's got the, and we get out of the car, and he's doing this. I said, where are you looking at? He said, this is the tank. This is the tank where they filmed the last scene of Star Trek: The Voyage Home with the whales. This is the tank. And I said, why do you know that? Why do you... So we walk, and like those sound stages are like, they're like an entire mall. They're humongous. And so we're passing sound stage after sound stage, and we turn this corner, and there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and there we see, in between this long walkway created by the sound stages, we see the trailers. And we see Bob Picardo and Bob Beltran and Bobby Duncan McNeil playing soccer, or playing something with their feet. Maybe it's hacky sack or something. And Tim Russ is sitting on the steps going up to one of the trailers, and he's laughing and they're joking, and I'm like, look, it's the cast, look, it's the cast. Can we ask them all to be in the book? So they take us to Kate Mulgrew's trailer, and they knock on the door, and she said, come in. And we go up the little steps, and we open the door, and she's in the captain uniform. And she's got her hair up in the bun, and she's got dirt on her face. I'm like, well, shit. She's not gonna be glamorous, she's not gonna be pretty, she's got dirt on her face. But she had drawings from her children on the wall. And we sit there and we talk for a second. She says, she flips through the book a couple times, and she says, this looks great, this is great. This is what's going to happen. We're going to the set, we're shooting the season finale. You will stand by, and when the time comes, they will call your name, and you will come onto the set and take the picture of me in the captain's chair. And I went, for reals? And she said, yes. So I had no idea we were going to stand there for 3 hours. I'm standing at the craft service table, you know, standing there waiting, and watching them film. And a lot of it is stand and watch. They just wait and wait and wait. And so they would film the episode, and in the episode they were fighting with some other alien race, and the director would go, they're doing this, they're acting, and they would go, boom, and all the actors would do and then they say boom, and they would do this again. No wonder she's got dirt on her face. She's in the middle of a battle. Okay, so we're watching and waiting, and Ethan Phillips comes up to me and he said, "Hey, Stephen, how are you?" We're standing there talking, and we're talking, and we're talking, and I hear, "Stephen Myer!" And I went, "Yes, yes, what? You're up!" And I said, "Okay." Well, I thought I was going to have their lights, but the reason they stopped was to reset the lights. So they dimmed the lights, and I didn't have 400 ASA in the camera. I only had 100 ASA in the camera. And that meant I was going to have pictures that were too dark, that were out of focus. I'm panicking. I get up there. Kate puts on the sweater. She sits down in the chair, and I'm just like, "Go, Stephen." And I'm click, 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 and she says, "So tell me, what's the significance of the sweater?" And I start telling her the story, and then she asked me another question about the sweater, and how did you get Broadway Cares involved? And she's talking to me, and all of a sudden they said, "You're done." And I went, it was 23 seconds. I was up there for 23 seconds, moving so fast that I'm thinking, these pictures are not going to be in focus. I come down off the stand. She gives me the sweater. We're done. And I'm packing up my stuff. We get in the car to go home. Pass like this. I said, "What is it? What is it?" He said, "The most amazing thing happened while you were packing up your stuff." I said, "What is it?" He said, "I walked up onto the set, and I was looking at the chair, looking at the captain's chair. And a voice behind me said, 'Try it on.'" And I said, "You sat in Captain Janeway's chair?" And he said, "For 6 seconds. You want to see the picture?
Yes!
Oh my God. It's tiny. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh,
You see it? That's my Kate Mulgrew story. Sweater book. I have prepared 2, but I don't have time to share them both, so you guys get to decide who you hear about. I'll tell you who it is, and you can make some noise, okay? It's either Maggie Smith, or it's B. Arthur. Maggie Smith, B. Arthur. I feel like the room split. All the Downton Abbey Rocky fans are here, all the Golden Girl fans. I'm telling you what, most of the noise is coming from Tom. But you know the B author story. So
It's a good story.
Fine, I relent. I have to lubricate because I want to do my Maggie Smith. All right. By the time we got to work with Maggie Smith, the sweater book had picked up momentum, and people were starting to know who I was and what the project was, and there were managers and press agents that would say, "Here's a list of my clients." And so I reached out to whomever repped Maggie Smith, and one day I got a fax that said, Maggie Smith said yes, and I said, what? So we go to London to work with Maggie Smith. Now, for a week we were there, and everybody we spoke to was like, we're going to photograph Maggie Smith, and they couldn't have been less impressed. Like, really? If it had been Judi Dench? Okay, actors. Okay, and a lot of them said, she's going to be trouble, she's going to be trouble, she won't wear that sweater, it wasn't made for her, it's not brand new, she won't wear it, she's going to be trouble. And I was like, you know, killjoy. So, the day of the shoot, I wake up and I was like, we have a shoot with Maggie Smith in 8 hours. We have a shoot with Maggie Smith in 7 hours and 55 minutes. All damn day, like the town crier. Okay? To make it worse, my nerves worse. We were seeing her in her show just before the shoot. So we're at the Comedy Theater watching her on stage be brilliant. And it's just her. It was the play Talking Heads, and it was just her. How do you be brilliant when it's just you all by yourself? You're Maggie Dan Smith. So afterward, we're at the stage door. You know, I'm a nervous wreck. It's autumn. It's freezing. I'm Maggie Smith. And they're making us wait, and they're making us wait. And to help calm me down, as if by providence, 2 queens walk by. And one of them said to the, I told you, darling, I could watch Maggie Smith sitting on the loo. And that made me laugh. And I was still laughing when the man said, Mr. Mosher, we're ready for you. And I said, okay. And so Pat and I went in. And if you've ever been backstage at a theater, you know this staircase. Teeny, tiny staircase going down. Teeny, tiny, skinny. You gotta walk single file. And as we're walking down, he's explaining that she's visiting with some friends and that she had to say goodbye. And we're patient. So I said to him, by the way, what should we call her? Because I rather think she likes Dame Maggie. I said, okay, Dame Maggie it is. So he takes us to the door of the dressing room. And it's a 2-room dressing room. None of that Lincoln Center bullshit where they put you in an ugly, nasty, you know. It's a dressing room. The walls are painted a dusty rose color, and there's no overhead lighting. It's all lamps and mood lighting, and it's beautiful. And there's a settee in this room, and a settee in that room, and not a vanity with clawfoot legs and 3 mirrors with telegrams and cards around. It was like being in a Judy Garland movie, okay? She's saying goodbye to her friends. She brings them over and she introduces them to us. Well, nobody introduces anybody anymore. And then they left. I said, how do you do? How do you do? And my modus operandi in those days was to let Pat show pictures from the book to the celebrity while I put up the lights. So, and she's his favorite actress, so it's giving him a chance to bond with Dame Maggie. So they're going through the portfolio, and Pat knows Dame Maggie and her history, and he knows that one of the people in the sweater book is a bitter rival of hers. And no, I will not say the name. So as he turns the page, Pat says, and you know, fill in the blank. And she said, oh yes, I do. And then as we're turning the page, Pat says, and you know her? She said, oh, whoops. That's what we called her. Well, where's Frank? And Pat said, oh, we're having trouble getting him to be in the book. She was dating Frank Langella. And I said, I think he's being a bit shy. She said, I think he's being a bit of a movie star. And she turned the page. And then she sees this couple that were basically the Lunt Fontanne of England. They were Dulcie Gray and Michael Dennison. And she says, oh, Gracie Doll. And Michael Dreary's son. And she turned the page. She closes the portfolio. I handed her the sweater. put it on her slender, lithe body, and she says, I like to do this sitting at my dressing table. And she sits down. Now, the dressing table is here, and there's a chair right where Evie is sitting. And Pat sat in that chair, and she sat here, and she talked to him, and she fixed her earrings, she fixed her hair, she fixed her makeup, while I, like a fly on the wall, buzzed around taking pictures. Now, the photographer in me was very happy to be creating the art, but the person was like, Pat's jamming with Maggie Smith, Pat's jamming with Maggie Smith. And then we're done. I shot 2 rolls of film. I saved 2 frames, and I said to her, Dame Maggie, favor? May I take a picture of you with Pat? You are his favorite. Of course, come with me. And so he comes over, and he leans over like this, and she's here, and I take a picture of them in the mirror. 2 frames, 2 pictures. She blinked in the first one, he blinked in the second one. I gotta find somebody to marry the 2 pictures so that they match. I packed up the lights, we put it all together. She, on the inside room, she takes off the sweater, she hands it back to me, and she hugged me. And then we walked to the outer door, and she said goodbye to Pat, and she hugged me a second time. And then we left. Now, the man who brought us down was taking us back up. And he said to me, you know, you're very lucky she did this. She's not ever photographed out of costume or character unless it's very important. And I said, why did she do it? He said, because her son told her you were all right. My first shoot in London was with Chris Larkin. And I never gave it a second thought. But he called his mom and said, this dude's okay, and I got the shoot with Dame Maggie. And I've never seen him again, but in my heart, he is my friend. By the way, every celebrity that's in the book got a kill sheet so they could tell me which pictures they didn't want me to use. Dame Maggie sent it back with a note that said, use whatever you want, I trust you.
Yes.
What's next? I can't remember. Oh, it's you! Oh! You know what? It's time for you to meet band.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so some of you, everybody has already met Dan, right? Dan. Right here is Jennifer Houston. Guys, this is Don Kelley. My drummer. I have a drummer. So sexy. Well, Don is here to keep me on the beat, but mostly Don tries to pummel my back crazy. I want to tell you a quick story about this one here. Several times in my life, more than several, but a lot of times people said to me, you can't sing. You're a bad singer. I'm like, okay. But this one I've been singing with for over 30 years. And in that time, he's never made me feel like anything but a beautiful singer. So, you want to sing with me?
I do.
What should we sing?
Well,
Do you want to do?
let's do this song we rehearsed. How's that?
I like the way you sing with me. Can we sing Ain't Broadway Grand?
Do we have to?
How about The Circus is a Wacky World? How I love it.
Acapella.
Let's sing the song we rehearsed. This is my last night, I'm cutting loose. You I like, so let me tip my hat. From no in your path I'll spread my welcome mat. You I like, can you imagine that? Although your ways may be strange, and there's much that I change, somehow you I like and warmly recommend. From now on we'll call each other friend. I'll be at your side until the end. Can you believe that I found such a thrill in the sound of this new chord we strike? You I like.
You I like, so let me tip my hat. In your path, I spread my welcome mat.
He's reading the words.
You I like, and you imagine that. Although your ways may be strange,
Very.
and there's much that I change, somehow
You I like and warmly recommend. From now on we'll call each other, friend. I'll be at your side until the end.
Can you believe
That I found such a thrill in the sound
of the new
chord we strike? You I didn't bring my tap shoes. Here we go. You I like and warmly recommend. From now on we'll call each other friend. I'll be at your side until the end.
Can you believe
That I found
such a thrill
in the sound
of the new
chord we strike? You That was fun. Go slow, Johnny. Maybe she'll come to her senses if you give her a chance. People's feelings are sensitive plants. Try not to trample the soil and spoil romance. Go slow, Johnny. No sense in rushing your fences till you know that you know the stars are bright for you, right for you. Mark their courses, hold your horses. Speak low, Johnny. Tiptoe, Johnny. Go slow, Johnny. Go slow. Pat and I went for a walk in Union Square Park. It's not a very big park. We started at 16th Street, worked our way down to 14th Street, and back up to 16th Street. The entire distance on this cold winter day, we see these young, college-age people walking around with signs that said free hugs. It was charming. We didn't get a free hug, but it was charming. When we got to the top of the park, we sat down on a bench and we were just people watching and free hug watching. It was a perfect day. Perfect enough for me to get up and get down on one knee. Watch those road signs, they'll indicate a bit, Johnny, which direction to go. Rely on time and tact, face the fact, you're no Brando, Rob Tando. Speak low, Johnny, tiptoe, Johnny. Go slow, Johnny, go slow. No sooner had Pat said yes than we heard a scream. And we turned to look up towards 16th Street, and we see one of the Free Hugs girls racing toward us, her arms out, and she was yelling, "Oh my God, did you just get engaged?" And she vaulted herself into our arms, and all of her friends followed suit until we were enveloped by youth and free hugs. We got to talking, and they told us that they were NYU students, each one of them a Californian. And when their home state developed the deplorable Proposition 8, they developed the Free Hugs movement in retaliation to prove that there are Californians with love in their hearts. It was priceless. There was one boy, very tall as you, and he hugged Pat over the shoulders, not under the arms, like this, and he put his mouth right next to Pat's ear and he said, "Just say when." Go slow, child. Slow goes and wait a bit, Johnny. There's no need to stampede. Don't forget if you wish to succeed. One rule had better be phased. More haste, less speed. Watch those road signs, they'll indicate a bit, a which direction to go. Rely on time and tact, face the fact, you're no Brando, Robin Tando. Speak low, Johnny, tip a toe, Johnny, go slow, Johnny, go slow, go slow, Johnny, go slow. Take it home. Yes, you tried to pull me right in your little tricks. You keep on calling, you play your part, dancer in the dark, saying anything to try and steal away the heart. Now you got him, he's lying up in your bed, don't seem to stop you. You keep on calling, you're out of line, no waster of my time. I just wanna know how you can fall asleep at night. Hey baby, you're just a pretender. I'm not crazy, should've known much better. But whatever you do, always twisting the truth. Well, the table's about to turn right back on you. You must be drunk. Did you forget your way home? I'm not the one who's scared of being alone. Got me confused with someone who needs you. Might be the joker, but I'm nobody's fool. Hey baby, hey, you're just a pretender. Don't mistake me, you might think you're clever, boy. Whatever you do, always twisting the truth. Oh well, the table's bound to turn right back on you. Take on your life, find you somebody else. I've got more strength, got more pride in myself. So what now? Who you're gonna mess around? I can tell you right now, it ain't gonna be me. Hey baby, you're just a pretender. I'm not crazy, should've known much better. Whatever you do, always twisting the truth. Oh well, the table's about to turn right back on you. Background vocals. You. gotta go home. I gotta go home. Before I do, I want to say something, and I want to say something real, okay? I always wanted to do this, but I didn't do it because some people told me that I couldn't. And that is exactly why I had to do it. It just took me 4 decades to find my courage and my voice. And that's why all of you should do it too. If someone tells you you can't do something, fuck it, do it. Just fucking do it, man, okay? Do not wait 4 decades to find your courage and your voice, okay? I could not have done this if Sidney Myer hadn't said to me, you belong here with us. And I couldn't have done it without these 3 scallywags on the stage with me, and that one sitting right there. I love you all very much. Okay, now, I want to say something. If I look good, it's because Eric Strebig is making magic back in that light booth. And if I sound good, it's because Randy and Lorinda have been keeping you drunk, so pay them well in your tips. They live off of your tips, and I used to cater. I know this shit, okay, kids? Earlier today, my husband said to me, God, you're brave for doing this. And I said, you're the brave one. He said, no, I'm a coward. I'm making this up on the spot. And I said to him, do you remember when I got shot and you jumped out of the car and ran into the crossfire of a Dallas gang war to rescue me? I would say that you're the brave one, Pat Dwyer. So thank you for listening to these songs for the last 3 years straight. When I came to New York, I knew nothing about the cabaret and nightclub community. And I got to know it because of a girl and a boy who gave me my first jobs in New York. They had me shoot their CD covers, and after that a lot of cabaret and nightclub people came and had me work for them. And so every time I walked up on the stage, Nancy Lamont and David Campbell have been here in my heart. I love them and I miss them dearly. David lives in Australia, he's not dead. Nancy is. I'm sorry about that. It had to be said. It sounded, on the spur of the moment, it sounded like David. Anyway. Okay, there is no fake ending. There's no encore. I've got 1 song left. So are you ready for the last story? It's been 492 days since I put down my cameras. And at least once a week somebody says to me, was it worth it? Are you happy? And the answer is yes. Giving up photography was the most difficult and also the easiest decision I've ever made, because I was lying in a hospital bed thinking about all the people that I want to see that I don't get to see, and thinking about all the things that I want to do that I don't get to do. And I realized that you can't do the things you want to do if you're busy doing the things you've already done. So I gave up photography to go find some new adventures and to learn some new lessons. I put myself on a new threshold. I've been reinventing myself my whole life. Maybe I have ADD. Or maybe I don't want to get to the day that I'm going to die and already have been dead. Where do we go from here? Now that you are standing here with me, after all there's more to life than holding you. What's gonna happen? I don't know. What's gonna happen? Where do we go from here? In its original incarnation, this song shows a boy and a girl sitting in a photo booth. And they're contemplating the uncertainty of life and love and relationships and risk and hope and dreams, all of the things that live inside of this tattered, surviving heart of mine. I truly believe these relationships are all we have. And as long as we are together, there's hope. Where do we go from here? we are sitting side by side. After all, there's more to life than we can see. Will there be troubles? I don't know. Will there be sweet things? I hope so. Will there be time to keep on dreaming once this dream is over? What happens when the booth goes bright? What happens when you're out of view? What happens when you can't hold tight? Or when I can't hold on to you? What happens when tomorrow comes and there's nothing left that we can do? Just pull the curtain tight and adjust the seat. Lean into the light and hold me. What's gonna happen? I don't know, but whatever happens, here we go. What's gonna happen? Where do we go from here? White. A blank page or canvas.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Mosher.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kelley. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tracy. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ricky Pope. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I love you. Good night.
Sometimes they become your best friend and favorite voice singer-songwriter. Amen, Tracy.
There are times when I wish the world was nothing but twilight, and every morning and every evening was the same old gorgeous change. If only the night didn't sully the wonder of twilight. But we are from dusk, and to dusk shall we always return. The twilight is golden when you look from the dark, but always moves on, making way for the dawn. Fading to gray, will one without a way, with nothing but twilight. Afraid that I wish it were different, and could find the strength always see nothing but twilight. Every moment just waiting for moments to come. Always between,
Left in transition,
not ahead or behind.
changing his mind.
Changing my mind. Oh, 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 I wish the world were nothing but twilight. And every day I wish I were different and content to stay the same. Oh, I am the man who will always see nothing but twilight. Every moment just waiting for moments to come. I'm always between, left in transition,
Left in transition,
not ahead or behind.
not ahead or behind.
Changing my mind, I sit back and watch with nothing to say. I'm stumbling backwards to the comfort of twilight. I'm wishing my life away, and I can't wait till that changes someday.
Is it okay if I call you mine just for a time? And I will be just fine if I know that you know that I'm wanting and needing your love. Oh, 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 oh. It is nice, isn't it? If I ask of you, is it alright if I ask you to hold me? It's just the things that happen to me. When I'm reminded of Tony Quantrill, like when I hear your name or see a place that you've been, or see a picture of your friend, or pass a house that you've been in one time or another. It sets off something in me that I can't explain. And I can't wait to see you again. Oh babe, I love your love. Oh, 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 oh. It's great. What I'm trying to say isn't really new. It's just the things that happen to me when I'm reminded of you. Who knew that song? And I watched that movie, and I left that theater, and I have never watched the movie again because I've had my ultimate experience with that film. And even though I have never watched the movie again, there is this song. I listen to it every single day. The very first time I ever heard it was during our first wedding in Married and Counting. And it was being sung by the woman who wrote it for us. And we knew that it would be the theme song for Married and Counting. Hi.
Hey, baby.
I love you.
I love you. Cover me like water. Let me drown in your embrace. You could swim out to meet me. Moonlight dripping from your face. Let me always be a witness to the sweetness you bring. Please be bold with me. Please grow old with me.
Let
Let
it
it
begin.
begin. Hey, hey. And I've been waiting all my life for this life to begin. Torn and tattered, but now none of that matters. Let it begin. Come stand here beside me. Take the rings from the bowl. Side by side now, face to face. Soul to soul. And I've been waiting all my life for this life to begin. Torn and tattered, but now none of that matters. Let it begin. Hey, hey. And I've been waiting all my life for
tell you something. I had originally not wanted to do an encore. Because you know me and my insistence on being deferent. But something amazing has happened, and I have to do this encore because my mother is here. Both my parents are here, but my daddy seems to have left the room. Is he okay?
He's here.
He's here? Okay. My parents are here. I know you guys know how much I love my father, but I know that you guys also know about the soulmate relationship that I have with my mother. And so once it was determined that they were coming, I said, I'm doing this song. Because, see, when I was a kid, growing up in Portugal and Switzerland, I would wake up on Saturday mornings to the smell of pancakes and bacon and coffee and Windex. It was house cleaning day, and Mama would open up all the windows, and she would let in the sunshine, and she would let in the fresh air, and we would clean house while listening to her favorite music. The Stones, the Hollies, the Mamas and the Papas, the Carpenters, Carole King, Carly Simon. And there was this one singer who was her favorite, and as a true blue mama's boy, she had to become my favorite too. And this was always tacitly understood to be our song. So this is for my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mother. You and me against the world. Sometimes it feels like you and me against the world. When all the others turn their backs and walk away, you can count on me to stay. Remember when the circus came to town and I got frightened by the clown. It was so nice to be around someone that I knew, someone who was big and strong and looking out for me and you against the world. Sometimes it feels like you and me against the world. And for all the times we cried, I always knew that we were on each other's side. And when one of us is gone, and one of us is left to carry on, remembering we'll have to do, the memories alone will get us through. Think about the days of me and you and me against the world. When Married and Counting opened, my mother was the breakout star. Not the actor, not the clown, my mother. There were cheers and shouts and applause and screams when she had her scene in the film, and when we did the screening in Austin, she was there. And when we did the talk back, did they want the clown? Did they want the actor? They wanted my mother. This made me the happiest of them, because I knew then that the wide populace would know what I always know, that this woman, my mother, the best. And when one of us is gone, and one is left alone to carry on, then remembering we'll have to do, the memories alone will get us through. Think about the days of me and you, me against the world. You and me against the world. You and me against the world.